In 19th century London, not every citizen lived within the same city, for shadows divided their worlds apart. While the wealthy enjoyed paved streets and fresh air, the poor were forced to exist where the sunlight could never truly reach. This was not merely a neighbourhood for the struggling class, it was a dark abyss where human beings vanished from recorded history. Survival was never a guarantee here, as the crushing weight of poverty erased names and faces before they could even be remembered. If you were born poor in London, your existence was a battle against a city that seemed designed to forget you entirely. Separated by only a few cobblestone streets, two distinct worlds existed side by side, yet they remained an entire universe apart forever. On one side stood sturdy brick houses, glowing gas lamps, and citizens in clean clothes walking with the confidence of established security. On the other side lay narrow alleys, devoid of light and air, where the suffocating atmosphere pressed down upon every single resident. The impoverished were herded into crumbling slums, packed tightly together in spaces that were never designed to support human life or dignity. No architect planned these structures for longevity or comfort. They existed solely to contain the maximum number of bodies in minimum space. In the eyes of the city planners, these people were treated less like citizens and more like objects to be stored away. They were hidden behind grime-covered windows and rotting wood, invisible to the upper classes who passed by without a second glance. The division was stark and brutal, creating a physical and moral boundary that few from the privileged side ever dared to cross. Step inside a single small room, where an entire family of 7 or 8 people is forced to live, eat and sleep. There are no toilets here, no running water, and absolutely no ventilation to clear the stagnant air that hangs heavy in the room. A thick, overpowering stench never leaves these walls, soaking into the clothes and skin of everyone who is unfortunate enough to stay. At night, tired children sleep on the floor, huddled closely beside the rats that scurry freely across the damp and rotting floorboards. The floor is perpetually wet with filth and mud, creating a breeding ground for bacteria that thrives in the cold, dark corners. Disease is not an anomaly in this place. It is a daily companion, accepted with a terrifying resignation by those who suffer. Misery has become a routine habit, woven into the fabric of their daily lives as they struggle to maintain a shred of hope. They cook meagre meals over small fires that fill the room with smoke, adding to the suffocating nature of their cramped existence. Wet rags hang from the ceiling to dry, dripping onto the heads of the weary residents who have nowhere else to go. A child looks through a broken pane, seeing only grey walls and grey skies, trapping them in a world without vibrant colour. As darkness falls, the slum becomes a labyrinth of shadows, hiding the desperate struggles that occur behind every single closed, rotting door. This was the reality of home for thousands, a place where the basic concept of comfort was a foreign and impossible dream. In this harsh environment, children do not go to school to learn. They go to work to survive another day of hunger. Small bodies crawl through filthy sewers, searching for lost coins or scraps of metal, risking disease and injury in the darkness below. Others stand on freezing corners selling matches, their bare feet numb from the cold, begging for a penny from indifferent passers-by. They scavenge through piles of refuse, competing with stray dogs for anything that might hold a tiny fraction of value or sustenance. Many of these children will never reach adulthood, their lives extinguished by labour and neglect before they even have a chance to bloom. They die so young that often no official record marks their passing, leaving them to fade away as if they never existed. In the unforgiving streets of Victorian London, childhood was not a right. It was an extreme luxury that the poor could not afford. Even their games are played in the mud, mimicking the harsh labour of their parents, preparing them for a life of toil. Cholera, tuberculosis, and typhoid stalk these alleyways like silent predators, waiting to strike down the weak and the malnourished without any mercy. These deadly diseases spread rapidly through the contaminated water they drink and the stagnant, foul air they breathe into their lungs daily. Doctors are few and often helpless, lacking the medicines or the knowledge to halt the relentless march of infection through the slums. Proper medicine is a luxury beyond reach, leaving the sick to rely on folk remedies or simply wait for the end to come. People die in their cramped rental rooms, surrounded by their weeping families who have no space to mourn or isolate the body. Sometimes, a lifeless body remains in the room for days, as the family lacks the funds to arrange for a proper burial. There are no dramatic screams, only a heavy silence that settles over the house when a life is finally extinguished by fever. The undertaker's cart is a frequent sight, rattling over the cobblestones, collecting those who have lost their battle against the city's filth. Grief is a constant state of being, etched into the faces of mothers who have buried more children than they have raised. The death toll rises steadily, yet to the outside world it is merely a number, devoid of the human tragedy within. The city officials know of the suffering, yet they turn a blind eye, for improvement does not generate immediate profit or power. On the maps of the wealthy, these areas are blank spaces or marked as hazards, ignored by those with the power to help. Landlords squeeze every penny from their tenants, refusing to make repairs, knowing the poor have nowhere else to lay their heads. The poor have no voice in Parliament, no representation in the courts, and no way to demand the basic rights of humanity. They exist only in grim statistics and mortality tables, numbers on a page that are filed away and forgotten by the bureaucracy. Sometimes they do not seem to exist at all, living as ghosts in a machine that grinds forward without caring for them. This indifference is the true weapon of the city, a cold shoulder turned against the most vulnerable members of its own population. The thick London fog wraps around the slums, further isolating them from the glistening lights of the wealthy districts just miles away. Exhaustion seeps into their bones, a result of endless labour and insufficient food, making every step a painful effort of pure will. They fade away gradually, their spirits broken long before their bodies finally give out, victims of a relentless and cruel urban grinder. There will be no headstone to mark their grave, no eulogy spoken to honour their life, and no legacy left behind. No one will remember their names or their stories as the city moves on, indifferent to the lives it has quietly consumed. This is the invisible death of the slums, a silent tragedy that plays out every day beneath the smoke of the factories. These slums would not stand forever, but the deep scars they left on the history of humanity remain visible to this day. In our next episode, we will enter the dangerous world of child labour and the deadliest jobs London has ever known. This is Victorian London, seen from below. Thank you for watching AI Historical Revival. Subscribe to uncover more lost stories of history.